The sounds that we've made. The sounds we listen to. Everything is coming from sound. So Raghunath Das Goswami is warning us particularly about two kinds of talking. He warns us about ordinary gossip and mundane talk. He said it's like a prostitute. So a prostitute is somebody who appears, or they're supposed to appear, attractive. Right? Of course, if someone's been a prostitute for a while, they don't appear very attractive. You know how I know that? We lived in a building in New York City around the block from the old 55th Street Temple. And there was a laundromat in the basement. And at one point, after we lived there for months, I noticed that these not very dressed women often went up and down to the laundromat. I don't know, it took me a while to even notice that there was a pattern. And one time, when I went down to that floor and people were getting off at that floor, I saw a door I hadn't noticed before was open, and there was a bar in there. I was like, oh, there's a brothel in the basement of this building. And once I noticed that, then I started noticing these women, and they were very hard. Their language, their demeanor was very hard. It was quite noticeable. There was no softness about them. So a person in that profession for some time, they have to get a hard heart. Why? Because they're pretending to offer something that they're not really offering. They're pretending that they're going to offer you fun and love and all, but they're not. They don't care about you at all. Right? The prostitute doesn't care about the customer except to get their money. Well, you could say, well, that's true in every business. All they care about is your money. Yes, but most businesses aren't pretending to love you. Right? You just go to buy a computer. They're not saying that they promise you romance. They're pretty upfront. You know, we're just here to get your money. But the prostitute's, oh, I love you. And it's all a sham. So the mundane talk is like, looks attractive. Oh, I'll find out. But it's just stealing from you. It's just taking from you. Right? And of course, the prostitutes, not only do they steal their customers' money, they steal their customers' health, they steal their customers' reputation, isn't it? Right? How many people have fallen from their positions? They're taking everything. Your family, what are they offering? They're cheating. So mundane talk is like that. You'll get pleasure. You'll get happiness. You'll get love. You'll get adventure. You'll get excitement. And what do you get? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Another material body. Is that very fun and exciting? Anybody find their material body very fun and exciting? Maybe if you're really young, you still have some hope. So it's cheating. It's cheating. Yeah? And the whole thing's cheating. It's all cheating. Even most of the prostitutes, they're not even getting most of that money, isn't it? They've got some pimp taking all the money and beating them. And all the customers are doing is facilitating this cycle of exploitation and abuse. And so when we're engaged in mundane talk, that's what we're doing. You know, when we're watching the TV shows and the movies, what are we fueling? The advertisers that are destroying the planet and destroying our health. Right? They're like the pimps stealing all the money. But we're thinking, oh, I'm having so much fun hearing about all these mundane things. Or it's fueling our envy. Oh, just see, that movie star actually has problems. Oh, that's all it's doing. It's just keeping us here. But it looks very attractive. From a distance, kind of, you know. Oh, that, yes, yes. And it'll be cheap. You know, if you actually have to keep a romantic partner long term, you have to invest something besides just money, isn't it? You have to care. So the prostitute's cheap. Just pay some money, get some illusion of pleasure, and leave. But what do they say? There's no free lunch. So it looks like it's cheap, but actually it's very expensive. It's much more expensive because you're not getting anything really in return. You're just getting an illusion of something, and so many things are getting stolen from us. You know, I like the story of Ulysses. When Ulysses was coming back from winning the war, so there were the sirens on an island. He was warned there are these witches, and they eat people. But they sing a beautiful song so that anyone going by the island thinks there's beautiful young women on this paradise island. And Ulysses says, well, I want to hear this song. So he had his men tie him to the mast. And his other men, he said, you put wax in your ears. So the men with wax in their ears, when they saw this island, they saw there was witches and a pile of bones. And so they're just rowing as fast as they can. And Ulysses, who's hearing the siren song, he says, go, go, go. And they couldn't even hear his instructions. So we should become like those men with the wax in our ears to the siren song of the mundane talks. Especially criticism, especially gossip. Especially those things. Especially criticism, which is full of envy. Raghunath Das Goswami here is talking about people who've already awakened some love for Krishna in a relationship. Even they can have their wealth stolen by this mundane talk. And then there's talks of liberation. It's interesting, this is about talks of liberation. Oh, I wish I could just get out of here. I wish everything would be over. When am I ever going to get out of the suffering of this material? When am I going to get liberation? When am I going to get liberation? He said, this is like a tigress who eats your very self. Why, as we said previously with Life After Life, love and saying I want to just be liberated are the antithesis. If I say to Krishna, I just want to be liberated, no, love is I want to be with you, I want to serve you. So it takes the very self of the person. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it's just like a prisoner who thinks the way I'm going to get out of jail is to kill myself. Right? Yeah, you get out of jail, but then you become a ghost. Doesn't really help. Doesn't really solve the problem. Right? Why not solve the problem? And either of these things, if one is attached to material enjoyment or one is attached to liberation, it will act like two witches. And then all that wonderful attachment for Krishna and all the attachment for the devotees and all the attachment for the holy places and to Guru and following Swarup Damodar and all these wonderful things get stolen away. And we see this over and over and over and over. That somebody comes, they have some attachment, they may even have some awakening, and they're not careful about this bhukti and mukti, and it's stolen. But then he says, Lakshmipati, don't become attached to Lakshmipati. Don't become attached to the husband of Lakshmi. Well, going to Vaikuntha is also bhakti. Why not be attached to Lakshmipati? Because we have this one pointed to Vraja. And this attachment to Lakshmipati has some mood of Lakshmi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his commentary that one can want to go to Vaikuntha because one has this mood of wanting to enjoy the Lord's opulences properly. Or one can even have a mood of dominantly wanting to serve the Lord, but still some desire to enjoy their opulences. You know, yeah, I really want to help you out, but I also want to enjoy the good food you have in your house. You know, there's something that it's not all about you. I want to be with you not all about you, but also because I like your opulences. I like to be around you because you have money. I like to be around you because you're famous, and when I'm with you, I also look famous. There's still something there. And this is, in that mood, one is going to see the Lord as God. And in that mood of seeing the Lord as God, one will not be able to enter into this real sweetness. This real sweetness that Krishna is just my friend. Right? The cowherd boys, they're just saying Krishna is just my friend. And therefore the gopis, when they see Lord Narayan, all they say is, oh, where's Krishna? Oh, obeisances to you, Narayana. Where's Krishna? Where's Krishna? Because they want that sweetness. Only Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti. Only he is the sum total of all rasa. Although Narayan is the same person, he's not showing all the rasa. He's in this mood of majesty. So how does one get free of this? If we're struggling with mundane talk, if we're struggling with, oh, I just want liberation. Or if we're thinking, yes, I want to go to the supreme heaven of the supreme opulence. Raghunath Das Goswami says we do this by getting the jewel of Radha and Krishna's love. He said, Radha and Krishna give us the jewel of their love. They give us their own love. Now this is Krishna's mood, this is Radharani's mood, that they want to share their love with others. In fact, the more people they can share their love with, the happier they are. It's not something, they want to keep to themselves. Now, there's still a lot deeper to go. And I've thought a lot about how this jewel, a jewel is something external and localized. So someone who gets this jewel of love for Krishna, there's still some way to go. They're not quite done. But they have this external, localized now, this love of Radha and Krishna that they're holding on to. You have a jewel, it's something valuable. You want to make sure you get both of them. Right? Okay. A jewel is something valuable. You're not going to let it go. You're not going to have it taken away by a prostitute and a tigress, and you're not going to let it go even for the supreme opulence. This particular painting is from a description in Govinda Lilamrita, how in midday, after bathing in Radhakund, Radha and Krishna are sitting in a jeweled pavilion, and Radharani is decorating Krishna. So this is the jewel of their love. Nice expression there, huh? Especially like Krishna's expression in this painting. Okay, so I'm hoping we have another half an hour. I'm hoping we can do this next verse because this is a little complex. So now we're at the point of we're talking about Krishna. Someone who's come to this point is talking about Krishna. They don't talk about ordinary mundane things. They're not talking about liberation. They're not attracted to Lakshmi's husband. Their speech is about Krishna. But there's a problem. We talk about walking your talk, right? You've heard that, walk your talk. These people aren't yet walking their talk. They have all those attachments, talking about Krishna. But what they do doesn't match what they say. Okay? Ready? Asakchesta kasta pradavikata pasalibiriha prakaman kamadi prakata patapati vyaktikarai Gale badvahanye hamiti bakavid vartmapagane Kuru twampukkaramavati sayata twamanaita. While here on the revealed path of devotion, I have been attacked by the hideous gang of lust, etc., who have bound my neck with the troublesome, dreadful ropes of wicked deeds. I am being killed. Cry out piteously like this to the devotees of Sri Krishna, the destroyer of Baka. O mind, they will save you from these enemies. So what do we do? This is a point now, again, Raghunath Das Goswami here, please don't misunderstand. He is talking here about advanced devotees who have already awakened some specific feeling for Krishna. He's not talking here about just some person on the street. And he's saying, okay, now you're talking about Krishna. You're hearing and you're absorbed in your talk. Maybe you're a great preacher of Krishna. But you got captured. There are these thieves on the shining path. They've got a rope there. And who are they? They're lust, anger. Bhagavatam says anger falls from the sky. You ever felt like that? Just fell from the sky. All of a sudden you're angry. Envy. Such a nasty thing, right? You'll see somebody who's happy. And why are they happy? They're too happy. Indrajumna Swami told that story. One time when he was going through immigration, someone came up to him and said, "You look too happy. They'll probably stop you." He thought, okay. Greed. Illusion, I think, on this body. I think that everything in relationship to this body is so important. I have to spend my time worrying about money. I have to worry about health. I have to worry about relationships. And then just madness. And all of them have ropes, and their ropes are made out of wicked deeds. When we're influenced by lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion, we do bad things. Yes? As soon as you're angry, you don't do nice things. We're lusty, we don't do nice things. That's what the ropes are made out of, all the nasty things we do by lust. And we may be talking about Krishna, and we're talking about spiritual life, and lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion have bound us around the neck with the ropes of wicked deeds. They're on the shining path of bhakti. You see, they're on that path. They're on the shining path. But there's robbers on the path. And what did he say to do now? Call for the devotees of the killer of Baka. Well, what's Baka? Baka is a crane. Now, a crane looks like a great yogi, meditating on one leg, like Atri Muni meditated on one leg. They're meditating on one leg, very peaceful, until there's a fish. And then back to the meditative pose. That's Baka. Baka personifies hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Serve Krishna, worship Krishna, but secretly I'm doing all kinds of things under the control of lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion. And only those who serve the killer of hypocrisy can save me. And Krishna destroys this hypocrisy. He gives us the strength. We don't have the strength on our own. Oh, didn't Raghunath Das Goswami say in verse 1, give up pride? You know, it takes some humility to say, I'm bound around the neck. I'm trying to be a spiritual person. I'm propagating spirituality. I'm talking about spirituality. I have some genuine attachment for Krishna. Genuine. It's real. But I got these guys with ropes around my neck dragging me around. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Isn't that embarrassing? You know, I'm like some kind of dog dragged around by a leash. The big dog. You never seen these big, fearsome dogs? And then, yes, you know, I'm a devotee, but then leash. It's embarrassing. It takes some humility to say, help. I'm being killed. I can't do this alone. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, in his commentary here, to the saintly devotees of the Lord, headed by Narada, Bhishma, and Arjuna, I offer my respectful obeisances. May they protect us on the shining path of bhakti. We need protectors like this. And they can come as soon as we cry out for the help of the devotees, as soon as we get a little humility. If we have the mood, yeah, I can deal with these guys, I'm a devotee. And I like Krishna, and I'm chanting, and I can deal with them. Yeah, this lust, anger, greed, no problem. Doesn't work, does it? But as soon as we cry out for the help, they start running away. Now, this is the devotees in general. Here we see the cowherd boys and the gopis who are friends with Bakabid coming to release the devotees, but all of the devotees. We need the association of devotees. Therefore, we have an international society. We're not just on our own. We're not just on our own. So I have a friend who is really struggling with something for a long time, struggling, and always saying, I'm going to deal with it. Leave me alone. When it was obvious to this person's friends that there was a problem. No, I'll deal with it. I'll do it. Leave me alone. I'm an adult. And finally they said, help. So this is why we have guru. Not just Diksha Guru, why we have guru, why we have friends among the devotees. To call for this help. It takes some humility to say, I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this with anger, with lust, with greed, with envy. I'm struggling with it. Please help me. Now, not that you have to put out, on the internet, this is the way I struggled with envy today. But at least we should have someone we can go to for help. Someone we can be honest with. Someone who can be honest with us without offending us. Someone who can come and say, that was pretty greedy. And we go, oops, it really was. Someone that we can have some genuine humility with. And of course, the devotees of Bakabid also mean all the literatures left by the devotees. So the literatures left by the devotees, they also cut these ropes. As we read Srila Prabhupada's books, we read the books of the acharyas. We say, what am I doing? I'm on this shining path of bhakti. There's Vrindavan right in front of me. I have some attachment for Krishna. Why am I letting this highwayman drag me around? And I've already got a jewel of love for Krishna. Remember, we got that from the previous verse? We meditated on this jewel of love for Krishna. This love between Radha. We're holding this jewel. Why am I letting this highwayman drag me around? And we read this and we say, yes, I'm going to get whatever help I need from the devotees. And I'm going to get help from the devotees' examples. I'm going to get inspired by them. Right? The devotees' examples, our heart acts like a crystal stone and it reflects the devotees with whom we associate. We get inspired by their examples. We get inspired by their overcoming of difficulties. We get inspired by their instructions. We get a specific help by their friendship. And making it alone on this path, figure it's impossible. Of course, you could be out in the middle of nowhere and have association with the devotees through the books and so forth. But whatever way we can get help from the devotees, we should do that. Because they can totally destroy these robbers. No matter how strong the ropes are, they can cut through them. So we've been through the first verses of Manah Shiksha. We've been through the 3 introductory verses, and we've been through the first 2 of the middle verses, dealing with our nartas. Tomorrow we're going to look at what we want. So far we looked at what we talk about and what we do. Tomorrow we're going to look at what we want, and deeper than that, what we crave. What is our craving that's driving everything else? Then that will finish getting through all of the obstacles, and then we will be finishing Manah Shiksha with the perfection, with the glowing nectar to drink and the 5 nectars and our ultimate achievement. So thank you all. This is a very long time to sit. I could see not everybody was willing to sit for so long. So I was wondering if anybody has any questions or comments or... Yes?
I really loved your lecture.
Oh, thank you.
I'm an alcoholic and an AA.
Okay.
And it's amazing, your lectures of AA, because in AA we talk about action preceded understanding. So people come in and they don't want to do the steps, they don't want to use the tools, they don't want to get a sponsor, blah, 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 blah. And we keep saying, I mean, I've been there for a while, we keep saying, action precedeth understanding. Do the work, which I equate to the exterior things that you talked about.
Yes.
And then over time, many years in my case, the interior association with what we call higher power, or we could call it Krishna, it happens.
Yes.
But it doesn't happen to everybody. Even some people work very hard and they still don't have that connection with higher power. So I saw it very much in what you're talking about. And of course, in the second part, with all of the external things that keep us, we have this other expression, which is, you can get a horse thief sober, but he'll still be a horse thief. And that was what I got from your idea, that even though we're Krishna conscious and we're worshiping Krishna and we're attached to Krishna, we still have these demons that can take us out.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And one thing we'll look at tomorrow is if we don't ultimately get to the root of what we crave, the other things can start coming back, which is kind of scary. But we will get to that tomorrow, yes. And I see a lot of this is really dependent on, again, the first verse, Damban Hitva. You've got to let go of your pride. Because if you go through the externals, but you keep your pride, you'll never get that understanding. You'll never get the understanding. You know, therefore, right in the first verse, Damban Hitva, we can't learn anything with pride, can we? Right? We can't learn anything. You can't learn the definition of a word. You can't learn how to get to the grocery store. Yeah, how do I get to the grocery store? Well, go down to this road, take a right. Well, you don't know what you're talking. Then how are you even going to learn that? Right? So this mood that I need help, I need to learn, I'm dependent on others. Without that, that's the thread woven through this whole treatise. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? 5:30 to 7:30, same time. And I'm not sure, do we have any books left? One more, and I have one over here. So it's really funny. I've never done anything like this before. So when we published the books, I was thinking, well, I should, print some and have some at each place. I wasn't sure how many do I bring, So I had 10 sent here, and we've already sold 8 of them. They will be available on Amazon, unfortunately for a higher price, but they will be available on Amazon hopefully in about a week. And we'll also have them available as ebooks. So they'll be available as a Kindle book and also as EPUBs. So EPUB and the Kindle. Does anybody else have some questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Mother Urmila. This was a beautiful presentation. A quick question was that, are these paintings yours? The ones that was used?
You mean, did I paint them?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, okay. Because you heard that our presentation, I thought that you're like putting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you probably weren't here right in the beginning, right?
Right.
Okay. So we have there were 12 color paintings, oil paintings, done by Jananjana Das from Italy. He's done some paintings for the BBT. He has a whole museum at Villa Vrindavan of Mahabharat paintings. And it took him 2 years to do these 12 paintings. And they were each commissioned for each verse of Manah Shiksha. In the smaller volume, where you have all of the color paintings, in the back of the smaller volume, we have the sections from the Shastra and the works of the Acharyas that inspired these paintings. So although each painting, like this painting, is going with verse 3, particularly for the word Swaragam of Raghunath Das Goswami in verse 3, but the description of this painting we also took from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where Krishna goes to the forest. So for the paintings, we're all looking at different shastras to look at the descriptions, because Srila Prabhupada will always say, don't just make up something. And then we have, in the larger volume, which has the commentary, we have 120 black and white drawings. So I have most of them in this presentation. A few of them I didn't put in. But the black and white drawings were done by about 7 different artists. And they're illustrating not only the verses, but also Bhaktivinoda Thakur's points in his commentary.
Mata, the other question would be the description that you nicely presented about the internal versus external path that Sarup Damodar disclosed to the devotees. It was very interesting because personally my misconception was that before what Bhaktisiddhanta was fighting against, that Sahajism was like opposed to like the path of rules and regulation, Vaidhi. But what you put forward as external method, it seemed like to be like a lot of rules and regulations are added
Yes.
to the Vaidhi, right?
Yes.
So Bhaktisiddhanta was opposed to that because faking that like extended Vaidhi, if I may call it, was easier.
That's correct.
But
you can't fake Manah Shiksha, okay? You can't fake Manah Shiksha. This is internal, deep stuff. You can't. Maybe you can pretend to just talk about Krishna in public. But either you're having your wealth stolen by the prostitute of mundane talks or you're not. Either you're being eaten by the tigress of the talks of liberation or you're not. Either you're being dragged around by lust, anger, envy, greed by the neck or you're not. You can pretend you're not being, but it's very different than just saying, okay, I'm sitting and chanting these mantras. I mean, I've met people who ostensibly are doing the outer path, and they have these, maps of Vrindavan, and they're sitting and saying the mantras, and they're meditating on these different places, but is anything going on internally? It's very hard to say. And it's so easy to fake it. It's so easy to say, well, I'm going to be your Siddha Pranali guru, and I'm just going to give you these mantras, and that's what happened. They started giving them out to unqualified people. You can't do this stuff if you're not qualified. It won't work. You just can't. This is what's going on in the heart. And this is a process also that can be taught to anyone in the modern world, and anyone can understand it, and anyone can do it. The outer path, you really have to give up the world. It's not, which is one reason why the critics say, well, preaching, that's a lower activity. Because you're spending so much time preaching, you can't be just, at Radhakund doing your bhajan. And I find that even people in Bhaktisiddhanta's line often don't understand how Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada are teaching the Rag Marg. They don't understand it. They think if we're not getting Siddha Pranali and we're not, I mean, I've heard it, ISKCON devotees say that. Well, if you're not getting Siddha Pranali mantra, then, you're not really on Rag Marg. So we have a chapter in the book specifically about that, and we focus on, one of the things we focus on the advice of Pranava Prabhu, who's a scholar of Bhaktisiddhanta, is the Gaudiya Math logo. So in the Gaudiya Math logo, which I didn't put that in the slide, but on the Gaudiya Math logo, Bhaktisiddhanta explains how there's Vaidhi on one side and Rag on the other. And Srila Prabhupada put this logo in a simplified form on the gates of our temple in Mayapur. But it's a very clear explanation, just symbolically speaking, of how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was imbibing this inner path of Raghunath Das Goswami. So anything else? We have time for a couple more. Yes?
path of bhakti, and you may wish to take shelter of devotees, of course, but then also you said Shastra. So I'm wondering, sometimes I don't feel like burdening devotees because I have a lot of mental problems, and it's repetitive. And so I don't want to, and it's embarrassing. So is it all right, or is it just as good, or is it not just as good to take shelter of Shastra?
Well, the Shastra are the words of the devotees and the activities of the devotees. I would suggest that we have at least somebody in this world, at least one person, who's a devotee of the killer of Baka, somebody who themselves has given up hypocrisy, that we can be honest with. And being honest with them, if we're really doing that, it shouldn't be so repetitive.
It shouldn't be so
It shouldn't be so repetitive. So I think the one, judge a tree by its fruits. So the real way we're knowing, am I taking shelter of the devotees of Bakabid? Am I taking shelter of those who are devoted to the killer of hypocrisy? Is my own hypocrisy diminishing? If my own hypocrisy is not diminishing, then either I've got the wrong people that I'm taking shelter of, or I'm not really taking shelter of them. So can that be done simply through the books and the recordings of the great devotees? Yes. But I don't think we want to avoid having somebody in this world we can take shelter of.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
If you can't find anybody, okay, but ask. The Raghunath Das Goswami is saying that verse, cry out. It's not just like, yeah, it would be nice if I had somebody. Maybe somebody will come along sometime that I can ask. Whenever Krishna wants, he'll send. It's desperate. Help! I mean, wouldn't you do that if you had, you got that far, you're attached to Krishna, you practically, you can sort of see, in this, it's kind of hazy with the dust. You just sort of seeing them from behind. It's a hint, maybe. But you got the hint and you're seeing it, and there's something there, and there it is. And the path is shining, and I got this jewel. And I'm choking death. Aren't you going to, help? I mean, wouldn't you do that? Even if you were just out on the street here walking and some guy came up, was chasing you with a rope, you wouldn't just be like, well, okay. Help! Somebody help! Where are the Is anybody awake? It's a desperate cry. I need help. And I think also, and I'm sure this isn't your situation, but I think also with humility, it doesn't get repetitive because we really take the instructions we're hearing. We allow it to penetrate some of this armor of pride. We allow it to come into our castle. We call off our guard dogs. We call off our atom bombs and our hydrogen bombs, and we let it in. We're not afraid to apologize, and we're not afraid to face our and to say, here I am being a devotee, and I'm the dog of whatever anger or greed or envy. I'm just their dog on this rope, and we're not afraid to say that, to see that, and then it's not repetitive, because then this stuff really does get cleared away. It really, 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 really does. And when it gets cleared away, really, really does, unless we're very foolish, it doesn't come back. I mean, if you don't get out the ultimate root, it can grow again. You know what to say. But unless we're really foolish and we start watering the root again, it doesn't come back. It's real, it's authentic. So this is our main way, judged by the fruit. Am I really calling out for the help of the devotees of the killer of Baka? Do I want to get rid of my hypocrisy? Or do I want to just pretend to be a devotee when I really know that that's not what's going on? What do I want? Who am I going to fool anyway? So maybe I'll die and everyone will say, oh, yes, they went back to Godhead, but that's not going to be where I am. They'll be there at the funeral. Yes, they went back to God. No, I didn't. I was just a pretender. You know, that'd be kind of sad. So that's who we want to judge. Is it cutting it? And you know, sometimes the whole rope's going to be cut. Sometimes it's going to be partially cut, and digging through the wicked deeds little by little. Sometimes you're going to get a cut from lust, and you still have to deal with the greed. And sometimes you're going to get a cut from the greed, and you're still going to deal with the envy for a while. But at a certain point, if we really, in humility, ask the devotees who are free from hypocrisy, because they're the servants of the Lord who has killed hypocrisy, they can help us. We have love and affection for all the devotees. We even have love and affection for the ordinary religious people teaching pious activities. But when we want to get help from lust, anger, we have to go to those who are free from hypocrisy. However we do it. And for one person it may be this way, another person it may be that way. Maybe for one person they just read something in Prabhupada's purport and that's it. It's done. Another person, you know. But don't avoid, like you're talking about AA, you have to have some person, right? You have to have a sponsor. Isn't that like someone you're accountable to, right? There's an interesting, I haven't tried it, but there's an interesting website called Stick, where if you really have problems keeping a certain determination or vow, one of the things is you can sign someone up that you let them know whenever you mess up. You know, it's again, there's some accountability and there's some transparency and there's some humility. Thank you very much. Raghunath Goswami ki jai, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.